the biggest thing for us is to get the biggest bang for our buck, right? So like the gate signage is where we'll be able to, kind of spread our wings with signs powered by XM Cloud. So it'll give us, roughly 1,500 displays throughout the U.S., right? So that's quite a few.
Awesome. We hope it really lands or takes off.
Yes. The airline puns are
they're plentiful.
Are really flying.
Yeah.
Welcome and thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Sitecore Water Cooler, the casual conversation podcast dedicated to covering all things related to Sitecore, including product updates, implementations, insights, getting the most out of your Sitecore investment, and more. I'm your host, Jon Price, Vice President of Sitecore, AmericanEagles.com Sitecore Practice and 6-time Sitecore MVP. After a 6-month break for myself behind the mic, it feels good to be back at the water cooler once again. We have a great episode in store for you today and an exciting summer in store as we have some additional episodes plans with Sitecore's leadership team leading up to Sitecore Symposium. I'm very excited for today's episode, though, as I have two great colleagues and friends at the water cooler to discuss what United Airlines, Sitecore, and AmericanEagle.com have in store for the rest of 2024. It is set to be a very busy but exciting year. I'm joined by Charlie Hong from United Airlines and Rick Bauer from Sitecore. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John, for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Good to be back.
Yeah, great to have you back again, Rick. So, Charlie, you're becoming a well-known individual in the Sitecore community at this point, but tell us just a little bit more about yourself and your role at United.
Sure. So my role at United is I'm the product owner for our digital signage product. Our digital signs are viewed by customers and employees. So at the gates, when the customers are flying, you'll see flight information, communication, stuff like that, all powered by Sitecore. And then down, for example, in like our baggage rooms, we power different information to alert the baggage handlers, like, how much baggage, things like that is coming through and what they're going to need to do for their job for different flights. So aside from that, I get to, promote Sitecore, promote AmericanEagle.com, and what wonderful jobs both companies have done for us in helping with our digital signage and getting it to the place that it's at today. It's been a journey and a maturation process, but, we're getting there and lots of exciting things to come this year.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlie. And Rick, much like myself, you've been around for arguably too long in the Sitecore community, but remind the audience a bit more about yourself and your role at Sitecore currently.
Well, I'm just glad that you caught up to the 6-time MVP because I can't get him anymore, but anyway. And I was a 6-time.
Okay.
Yes, that's my point. Anyway, I am the Director of Customer Transformation at Sitecore. I've been with Sitecore coming up on 3 years, but in the Sitecore world as a customer and a partner for around 12, 15 years, something like that. So a long time. And I really, work with customers to plan, to look at business challenges, business opportunities, and be able to help, look forward and be able to figure out what are the next steps, what's the next best action, and what's long-term thinking. And, we've had the pleasure, obviously, that's what brings us together here and how we kind of all how this group came to be. But, we've had such great success with Charlie and United Airlines and really just seen a vision come to reality is such a, this is a prime example of that. And I, applaud both Charlie and team and American Eagle and team for making this happen. So it's been a great ride and I'm looking forward to the new year.
It's definitely been fun, right? Like
Absolutely.
Watching from the initial vision and the, what was that, year, 2 years ago?
I think
year
21
and a half,
or
almost 2 years.
It's hard to believe it's been almost 3 years since that innocent inspiration day, right? We've accomplished a lot. So.
Yeah. And I have to say congratulations on your MVP.
Well,
welcome to the community.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Only 5 more years to get to year 6, but
it'll happen. It'll happen.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see. We'll keep working at it.
I can't get any more. You can't be a future MVP when you're in Sitecore anyway.
Oh. But perfect segue.
Yes.
Because Charlie, before we dive into what you guys all have going on with Sitecore, I was just going to ask, you are a newly appointed Sitecore MVP. How's the experience been so far?
The experience has been wonderful. It's been cool to get to see some of the product advancements, especially like with XM Cloud, since we are now migrating from 9.3 to XM Cloud. So it's just been great meeting new people around the globe, and just seeing the different ideas and people helping and meeting them through different channels and video calls, things like that. So it's been great.
I do remember, I mean, I'm sure you remember this as well, your first time when you're an MVP. I'm just kind of curious because you just went through this. There's kind of a through the looking glass moment where you get a little more insight, a little ahead of the stuff. Has that been beneficial to you and everything that in your day to day? And
yeah, 100%. So I think, especially like with the XM Cloud, right? So getting access to like the demo portal has been very helpful to see how it functions and what are the new features that are in there compared to what we're using today. It also helps me to speak intelligently, which I use that term loosely with myself, right? But
the community helps that, right?
Yes, they definitely
we're all
do.
in it together.
Yes. A lot of hand holding with me. But anyways, it's been good to like talk to my team about it as we, migrate over to using XM Cloud. So I think that's been super helpful to do that.
Awesome.
And you've been working how long in the Sitecore space, Charlie? Because you had previous responsibilities on other platforms or other sites on Sitecore, right?
I did, yeah. So it's been, we'll call it like 6 years. So 6 out of the 7 years that I've been at United has been dealing with Sitecore. So the initial one that we did was our policies and procedures website that we created. That was another, vision that we had because we were doing a lot old school paper, not really digital. So we created a site that's a little bit more, I guess, Google-esque, that where employees on our front lines can search up any policies and procedures just by putting in key terms, right, to help find those, odd policies or procedures they might have questions about, right? Like how many pounds of pineapple can you bring back from Hawaii? Things like that. So. And yes, man, that is a thing.
All the time. That's always on my mind.
Yeah.
For pizza? I'm just checking. I don't want that was a trick question.
I might have to plead the fifth because I don't know.
I don't want to kick you both out of the studio. So.
Well, I saw you put ketchup on your hot dog, John. So
that wasn't me. It is great, Charlie, to see you get that first set MVP. I think the one thing with the Sitecore community is there's not enough customers applying. Like, you've been working in the community for 6 years, and I think this is a good testimony that I think many more should try to obviously attempt to get it, but also a lot of them already have a great resume to get it. So it's good to see you submit and also start to speak the story as well on stage starting last year in October in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to both you and Rick for helping and kind of mentoring me through that whole process, right? That was a big help because just trying to put all of that together, it's like writing your annual review where you're like, oh, what did I do? And then like having people help you kind of put all that together and then build that story helps a ton. So I do appreciate both of you like helping out with that. And yeah, I agree. I'm sure there's a ton of customers out there that aren't doing it. If they're not, they should be. Absolutely. Like, why not? Because if you're doing it in your day to day, then you're basically a subject matter expert at this point.
Yeah, and the tip I always say to people that are looking to do that is like start a running spreadsheet and just line by line, when you do something, add it in there, because a good application is a big part of the process. As I'm on one of the teams that does some of the early reviewing, and it helps to have a good application.
So the group here has already kind of started going over a little bit of history of United Airlines with Sitecore and American Eagle, but just kind of do a quick recap for the audience in case they haven't seen some of these presentations or webinars, which are still obviously accessible. We'll definitely maybe post some of those links after the episode gets posted here. But, this group's been working together for about 3 years. Start off with an inspiration day over a couple days where we built out a roadmap and then kind of looking forward and accomplish a lot together. Digital signage is now across the United States and a few other countries, all powered by Sitecore. You guys are now up and running, leveraging Personalize and CDP. We'll want to hear a little bit more about that. And we've also started upon this XM Cloud journey into the SaaS world as well, which is going to help United Airlines greatly. But Charlie, any tidbits you want to maybe just give the audience? Like, how are you guys leveraging Personalized CDP? What are some other use cases you guys have going on with digital signage at the moment?
Sure. So I think, one of the big ones that we did was the Spanish translation at the beginning of the year. So that was, that made a pretty big splash where we initially did it. Any flights to destinations that were Spanish speaking, we would show a lot of our comms and flight information in Spanish. So we were leveraging CDP and Personalize to tell us, oh, this flight is going to one of those destinations. So that was great. Got some pretty good coverage on that one. So utilizing that. Some of the other use cases CDP and Personalize is helping us out is, for example, some of our new aircrafts have the space bins where, everybody should be able to fit their roll-on bags on the flight. So it'll post up new comms on our gate information displays, telling folks, hey, we have new space bins, and it'll play video to show them, how to put them instead of laying them flat. They got to put them vertical.
I still do it incorrectly, but
Yeah,
the signs are always appreciated.
You amateur.
Yeah, right.
You must not travel at all for your job.
I'm the guy giving you the evil eye.
Just
Spin,
kidding.
rotate.
Yeah. He's probably putting his sport coat up there too.
Yep,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And his,
My water
carry-on
bottle and
bag
anything,
and, taking his shoes off.
Yeah, for sure. And then on the flip side of that, we're also, we're telling folks hey, there's going to be an overabundance of overhead luggage. So, we can gate check that luggage for free. Right. So those are kind of the two use cases. Obviously we're working towards, getting more down the pipe here, but, those are the ones that are in play today.
Awesome.
And then do you receive that luggage at the top of the ramp or at the baggage claim?
Oh, you really put me on the spot. Baggage claim.
All right.
But
That's what I really enjoy about this use case is it's not a website. It's something that you can literally go to the airport and travel, and you're seeing Sitecore power this experience, and your team's responsible for it. So it's really kind of cool to see.
Absolutely. I love that story. I mean, this is just a lot of times people are Sitecore, they think websites. This is a very non-traditional, great use case.
Yep. So Charlie, since this is not a website and this is something that's in airports where people are just kind of maybe looking at, glancing at, or just part of their day-to-day travel lives, how does United Airlines measure success with digital signage?
that's a good question. It's one that quite frankly, maybe struggle a little bit with. So with the Spanish translation, when we did, post-flight surveys for customers just to gauge, are we deterring from the experience for only English-speaking customers? And, the surveys proved out that we're not, right? A lot of them were comfortable with, the amount of time that we're showing Spanish translation versus English. And, our Spanish-speaking customers found it extremely useful, that they were able to read it in their native language and, got all the information that they needed. So I think surveys is one of the ways, talking to our frontline employees, that's another way, because that's where some of these ideas come from as well, right? They're living it day to day, so they're seeing it. So it's good to, get the perspective of the frontline employees because they have a lot of good ideas.
Absolutely. Because it's not just only about the customers, it's also about the betterment and kind of the day-to-day lives of the employees, the gate agents, and other United Air personnel.
Yeah, I think they're kind of like our customers, right?
Yeah,
so we have two customers that we're serving, right? The ones that are paying, and then also the ones that are on the front lines, right? Because without them, airline's not functioning.
And some of the work you've been recently doing has been picked up by some magazines, some newspapers, and so you guys have some really impressive metrics on how this is impacting your travelers' lives.
Yeah, it's been a good year so far.
Awesome. Well, on that note, is there anything you can share that may be on the docket for new features being released? We'll talk about the technology side in a minute, but anything just from the signage feature standpoint that you guys are going to be releasing here the rest of the year?
We're trying to push more of the Spanish translations to maybe more, I guess I call non-traditional flights where you might not expect it. So maybe a flight to Milwaukee, but we're trying, there's a high percentage of Spanish speaking either passengers or folks that live in those areas, right? So utilizing that depending on that route. The other one that's coming up is going to be our irregular operation signage. So obviously nobody likes getting delayed, canceled, things like that, but we're going to try to make it a little bit easier for passengers when there are inconvenience by giving them the information at the gate, allowing them to potentially self-serve utilizing our app. So there's so much you can do in the app. Why not take advantage of it? So and that'll change based on the logic. that we'll put through Sitecore and what have you. So, if it's a short flight delay, then we'll show some delayed signage for a short period of time. But if you start getting into the longer delays, like maybe there's, different things that the airline, that United's offering to customers that are inconvenienced, like that'll be on there. So that way they're not having to ask questions and delay it.
Very cool.
Just that information during that time of stress is going to be such a benefit. I'll bet. I would think under like satisfaction scores, when you're helping somebody out in those moments, that's going to start to really pay dividends.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll help more customers and take some relief off the gate agents and customer service agents.
Awesome.
And then you're also utilizing these signs across things outside of the airports too, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes. So we are. So, at O'Hare, we have digital signs on the curbside. So as you're pulling up, we have different signage that's telling folks, get dropped off here. If you're flying on Lufthansa or, other ones where, hey, you're in Terminal 2, go past the Terminal 1 doors.
Yeah.
We also have our 20-foot LED wall that we have at our headquarters. So Sitecore's powering that, and that just provides employees with different information and communications on the goings on within United.
Yeah.
And then they've also used it to put up new hire names and interns, things like that, just kind of celebrating employees and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're seeing employee signage become a bigger and bigger use case as people come back to the office, whether happily or begrudgingly. This is definitely a great way to kind of add on to the employee experience or their day-to-day lives. So it's good to hear you guys are utilizing it for that as well.
Yeah. And then aside from that too, like at O'Hare, there's this big landmark display over by like gate C18. So we got some, different marketing information that we're flowing through Sitecore. So like recently we had our O'Hare to Athens direct flight that just started. So they had like a kind of big celebration near that gate, and they utilized that display to throw up an image on it. So it was
very cool.
It's cool, and Sitecore makes it easy, right? To just throw the image in there, change it up, and then once we're done, go back to your regularly scheduled program. So
it's nice to be able to automate all that, right? So it's all kind of runs behind the scenes. Personalized and CDP are kind of automating these different scenarios for you all.
Yep.
Very cool. So this will be a good transition, because let's talk a little bit more about the technology side. Because again, this we'll call this use case, this roadmap started about 3 years ago, where you guys were on Sitecore 9.3. You still have a footprint on Sitecore 9.3, but we've just started migrating to XM Cloud. So there's a lot of Sitecore customers evaluating this jump. Let's cover maybe some aspects of why you all decided to move to XM Cloud. Are there any hot top hitters that you could maybe, some reasons why you did want to move to XM Cloud?
Yeah, I mean, so jumping to XM Cloud, I think for us, one of the big things was not having to deal with upgrades in the future.
Yeah.
Right. Like to me, it's kind of just a cost suck. So that was definitely a big one. There's definitely more features in XM Cloud, right? Being SaaS, not on-prem.
The other one that might be worth mentioning is also the new Pages Editor functionality, right?
Yeah.
Right now, the editing experience isn't bad in Sitecore, but the Pages Editor is definitely going to maybe help you, expand the editing out to other business units and maybe other individuals.
Yeah. And so I think, us using it for digital signage kind of also opens the door for other areas within United to make that jump to XM Cloud.
Yeah.
So I think, and just the future proofing of it, right? Like, we won't have to keep migrating from 9.3 to 10.3 and so on and so forth. So,
yeah. I mean, that's everything you just named there is certainly some of the prime reasons we invite people to move to the cloud. We went pretty hard on that invite over the last, couple of years, but we're even saying we're easing back on that. This is not a secret, but
there's a choice.
There's a choice, if you want to stay, but you're going to get the benefit of speed as well, not just in Pages Editor, but just overall, just the speed that you're going to get from the SaaS solution of XM Cloud, and then really more getting into versions, or revisions, and just suddenly there will be some published updates, and you'll have more features. So that's certainly another advantage there.
Also, we just wanted to point out for the audience as well, and Ricky brought up a good point about like, Sitecore has, it's not
It's not a one size fits all.
Yeah, customers have a choice if they want to go to XM Cloud now or possibly later. But we'll be talking about this more at Sitecore Symposium in October in Nashville. So we're looking forward to seeing you all there. But there's also a way to progressively migrate over. And that's what we are doing with digital signage. We kicked off the XM Cloud migration here a few months ago. And then by the time October rolls around, we'll have quite a bit to show everyone. But this roadmap takes us out into 2025 where we don't have to rush it. We can do it responsibly, build it right. And you'll be able to start realizing the benefits almost immediately. So looking forward for that.
And that's really, again, just to give kudos, this was, it's coming off of the workshop in the lab that we did. It was very exciting to see the just start, I think that's one of those things you can sit there and you can go, man, how are we going to get there? Well, don't get paralyzed by that. Just start here.
Yep.
And it's paid dividends. Here you are now with, this press release on the Spanish speaking, element, that made my day. Like that's so cool to see that taking shape. And it's just, more and more customers need to just put that stake in the ground and start moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's like, it's the cliched fail fast, but right, you got to start somewhere. And sometimes it's just put your head down and start working through it and then iterate as you go, right?
Yes.
Like I know everybody says it a lot, but
for a reason.
obvious reasons, right? And so like the analysis paralysis, it's just like, hey, we see what it is, we have a vision, like let's just start building on it.
Right. Yeah.
And the direction we started with might not be where we end at, but like you gotta take that first step.
Yeah.
And so I think, right, the vision started with personalization and multi-language.
Yeah. So
we've got both of those now. And so now from the technology standpoint, it's like, all right, well, now we need to upgrade that. So, XM Cloud gives us that, upgrade that we need.
Yep.
And to Jon's point, right, we still will have stuff on 9.3, but we'll get there eventually within, the next year or so. But I think the biggest thing for us is to get the biggest bang for our buck, right? So like the gate signage is where we'll be able to, kind of spread our wings with signs powered by XM Cloud. So it'll give us, roughly 1,500 displays throughout the U.S., right? So that's quite a few.
Awesome. We hope it really lands or takes off.
Yes. The airline puns are
they're plentiful.
Are really flying.
Yeah.
They're plentiful and they'll never stop. So, Charlie, I'm going to put you on the spot for one last question here. So, with your digital signage, airport experience, even plane experience, what is United Airlines doing that may be more innovative than other airlines?
I think just from a traveling perspective, having a personalization piece for our customers and trying to, I guess, meet them where they're at. I think, while it doesn't necessarily sound innovative, I think it is, right? Because everybody wants to have this personalized experience. So like the Spanish translation, I know we've talked a lot about that during this time, but I think that's huge, right? If you only speak Spanish and now, hey, this airline is giving me information and communications in the language that I know, like why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I fly with them? And so I think, I've not seen a lot of that. I've seen like tidbits of other airlines doing it, but not to the breadth that we're doing it, right? Where it's like the whole sign being communicated, and then also communications telling customers, right? Like, oh, your flight's delayed. We apologize for it. But here's what you can do, right? Versus now they have to go speak to an agent and, then what if that agent doesn't speak Spanish? Now you got to find someone to translate. So I think that has helped. The personalization part and the translation part has been, to me, what we do better with our digital signs than other airlines.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, I mean, you're a people business, right? I mean,
100%.
I mean, put yourself in the shoes. I mean, in the U.S., I think we're English speaking. We get the luxury of a lot of countries putting things in their language in English. But if you've ever been somewhere where you can't read it, that's distressing. So again, it's just helping somebody in that moment of stress is just gonna, just be the piece that rises, takes United to I'm going to try not to do an airline pun to the top. I'll say it that way.
Not to new heights.
Yeah, not to new heights, to the stratosphere.
Yeah. Well, let me flip the question, right? Like, you both fly for your jobs and personally, like what things do you guys see that you find to be innovative or help you, right?
As someone that does travel probably at least 25% of my work life, I do fly United majority of the time. There are some at times where I cannot. But United's always my first stop. Not just saying that, obviously. The one thing I do really enjoy about the traveling experience from United is just the end-to-end journey where I get to the airport, I see the sign, I get updates on my app, I check my bag, I can check, then I can tie it back to the app. And even when I get on the plane or off the plane, you have the connections right there. So I just think the end-to-end experience at United is very easy, right? Because when you're traveling, it doesn't need to be fancy, it doesn't need to be flashy, it needs to be easy. That's what I really appreciate of traveling with United. I never have them stressed. I never have any questions where my bag is at. I think it's just a nice, seamless experience. And the signs are obviously a huge part of that.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll just add on top of what you said, but like the signage at the gate is the word I would use is crisp.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
They're clear. I know what's going on, and
exactly.
they're the information I need in the moment of need.
I feel like there's some other airlines out there. They're almost too simple. There's not enough information or there's too much. I think you guys are a perfect middle ground. But Charlie, Rick, thank you for joining us today on the Sitecore Water Cooler. Looking forward to collaborating more in 2024 and speaking with you at the various events this year. We hope to have you both back in very soon on the Water Cooler.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure, Rick.
Yeah, same, Charlie.
And final shameless drop for the group here, but you can catch us speaking again at numerous events and sessions this year, including the main stage and breakout sessions at Sitecore Symposium in Nashville the week of October 14th. You'll also see this group back in action in Las Vegas at the Digital Signage Experience Conference, which starts on December 7th. I believe we're speaking on December 9th. So no shortage of things to show off and talk about this year, guys. Thanks again to Charlie Hong from United Airlines and Rick Bauer from Sitecore for joining us today on the Sitecore Water Cooler podcast. And thank you all for listening. Find out more information about AmericanEagle.com Sitecore services and today's topic in the description below. This episode is brought to you by AmericanEagle.com Studios with special thanks to executive producers Renee Nelson, Julia Klepich, and Brian Winger.